What's up, historians? Welcome back to the Gaia Earth Club podcast. I got a good one for you today. Today we will be discussing somewhere that you have ultimate spiritual fulfillment, somewhere that balance and harmony is maintained, somewhere suffering and pain doesn't exist, somewhere something means nothing but to exist. This is a place called paradise. If you knew that life could truly be free of pain, guilt, and sorrow in a place that you had to find, would you seek it out? In our state of mind as of today, this is not a physical place among us. Many believe that this place only existed in the mind. But the ancient people believed that there was a physical place truly like this. In these times that we live in, that place to many of us is called heaven, or based on your belief, some kind of reference to a good afterlife. And this place can only be reached if you live a virtuous life in the manner of your belief system. Paradise cannot be reached in this life, but it can be reached in the next. That is a pretty fictitious but understandable concept to believe in when you take into account that no proof has been given upon the notion that death leads to an everlasting peace where you will eventually live again. Now, if we took that part out that says you will live again in my last statement, well then it makes more of a realistic sense, because of course you will have everlasting peace if you don't have to deal with the matters of life anymore, and you are cast to an everlasting unconscious state. But most of us, we believe if you are abiding by the moral compass of your belief system, you do reach paradise. But if you do not, you reach a bad place. Or if you simply do not place your beliefs in anything higher than yourself, you will also reach that bad place. So that bad place is the opposite of paradise, a dystopia. So it is safe to say that the common belief is that we are in between those two realms, right? Like a Venn diagram, where the middle represents similarities and the outer layers represent differences. If that is the notion, then it is inevitable that we are bound to live in between a state of acting or thinking in a paradisical manner, and also acting or thinking in a dystopian manner, each being 50% of the time, not one more than the other. Because at that point, it's in our DNA. Just like your parents give you 50% of their DNA each. Now, you could be more susceptible to the qualities of one parent, but the exact genes are random, which means it can vary on the embodiments that are shown, with also an influence of environmental factors. But I explained all of that to say that paradise is just a twin of dystopia. We would essentially have no meaning to this word paradise or heaven without suffering, pain, or dystopia. These ideologies that we create today for ourselves, mental concepts that guide us to either seeking more enlightenment or fleeing from accountability. Because believing that there is a paradise land or world means to believe that things can get better, and to believe in a dystopian land or world means to believe that things can get worse. Believing these two concepts according to your belief system, right? It may be following a religion or whatever you are religious about, but at the end of the day, you are running from one, seeking the other, vice versa. And to go towards, to seek enlightenment through the belief in paradise, evading dystopia, is to wish and hope to find a way to flee from the matters that you must face currently. You seek to have no account for responsibility, liability, or obedience. And to go towards dystopia, evading paradise, is essentially the same exact thing. I don't make these statements in full belief that I am correct in my philosophy, but I make these statements based on the circumstances surrounding widely agreed upon human thought, activity, customs throughout ancient and modern beliefs, along with traditions. See, me personally, I do believe in an afterlife. I can't for sure say that I know what it consists of. As for present physical paradise here right now, I do not know, but I do believe that it can be. So let's dive into some of the ancient myths about the paradise of their society, civilization, and you'll find a lot of commonalities when we go through these. So let's start with the Aboriginals. If you don't know who the Aboriginals are, they are native to Australia, as what we know of today, and their traditions still are practiced today. So that's something to look into if you're ever interested in the Aboriginals. They are a great civilization to learn about. So, before the world as we know it took form, there existed a sacred island in the far east beyond the horizon where the sun is born each day, called Boralku. Boralku was not a land of flesh and decay, but a land of spirits, where there is no suffering, pain, or death, only peace and harmony. Every human spirit is said to sleep in Boralku before birth, dreaming of the life that they will walk on earth. In the time of dreaming, 3 great ancestral beings lived upon Boralku: Junglewood the elder sister, Junglewood the younger sister, and Junglewood the brother. They were beings of immense creative power, bearing sacred dilly bags, sacred digging sticks, the first names, the first songs, and the first kinship laws. These items were not objects, they were the blueprint of existence. The morning star Barnumber, or Venus, appeared and spoke to them as a guide ancestor. Go across the great sea, there is land waiting for song, and people yet without law. So the 3 left the paradise in the canoe crafted of spirit, wood, and light. They followed Barnumber, who shone before them, leading the way. They came ashore at a place called Yalangabara. When they stepped on the sand, the world shifted. Their footprints became stones, their tears became springs of water, their laughter summoned birds, and the marks of their digging sticks formed billabongs and rivers. Everything they did created the land. The Junglewood walked across Arnhem land, performing the first ceremony. They sang the names of plants and animals, giving them identity. They divided the clans into their moieties or moieties. I'll put the word up. I'm not fluent in Aboriginal, but this gave them kinship and social law. They taught humans marriage rules, the cycles of ceremony, the responsibility to land, water, song, and ancestors. Wherever they went, they left song lines, which are the pathways of spirit memory embedded in the earth. These song lines are still sung today and unchanged. When their work of shaping the world was complete, the 3 stood upon the coast once more. They looked to the horizon and saw Barnumber rising. She called them home. So the Junglewood returned to Boralku, but they did not take the songs with them. Before departing, they said, when each person's journey is finished, their spirit will follow Barnumber back across the sea to the island of the ancestors. So when a person dies, the Yolngu, like I said, I'm not fluent in Aboriginal, so I'll post the word, but the Yolngu performed the morning star ceremony. They sing sacred songs accompanied by the morning star pole, which guides the spirit like a map from earth across the sea back to Boralku to rejoin the ancestors in the eternal dawn. Boralku is the eternal homeland of the spirit, and the Junglewood are the creators who brought law, identity, and ceremony from that paradise to humanity, then returned to it, leaving a path open for all to follow. So it doesn't seem like Boralku is a place like heaven that is only meant for those who do good. It seems more like a timeless place, separated but inseparable from this one. Great. I love that story. Now let's go on to the Sumerian version of paradise. The Sumerian paradise is clearly described as Dilmun. Well, most clearly described as Dilmun, a sacred, pure land that existed before death, disease, and decay entered the world. Dilmun is described in the Sumerian creation tablets as a land where no one grows old, no one cries, no one becomes sick, no one suffers, no one dies, no predator hunts, no venomous creature strikes. In Dilmun, the raven does not croak, the lion does not kill, the wolf does not seize the lamb. This land is bathed in sunlight, always warm and lush. It lies far to the east across the waters. Enki, the god of fresh water, fertility, and wisdom, claimed Dilmun as his dwelling place. But Dilmun, although pure, was dry. There was no water and therefore no life. Ninhursag, which is basically Mother Earth, spoke to Enki. Dilmun is pure but lifeless. Let it drink the waters of life. Enki opened the subterranean waters and sent living rivers flowing into the land. Then palms started to sprout, fruits ripened, animals multiplied, gardens grew in endless bloom. Dilmun became paradise fully at this point. In Sumerian tradition, paradise becomes fully alive through union. Enki and Ninhursag met in Dilmun and loved one another there, producing the first line of divine life that would populate the world. This is why Dilmun is remembered as the birthplace of the gods and the womb of creation. From their union comes Ninsar, lady of green plants, Ninkora, lady of the pasture lands, and Utu, the weaver of growth and order. Every generation creates a new layer of paradise. This is the golden age. In Dilmun, Utu plants 8 sacred plants born from the union of earth, water, and joy. These plants are not just vegetation. They represent the divine balance of creation. But Enki, god of curiosity and desire, sees them and says, "Let them be eaten, for are they not gifts of the land?" He does not ask Ninhursag who planted them. He eats each plant, the plant of life, the plant of joy, the plant of birth, the plant of strength, the plant of wisdom, the plant of perception, and the plant of healing, and the plant of understanding. By doing this, he takes creation into himself rather than letting it blossom outwardly. This is the Sumerian version of what we would call basically the forbidden fruit. But unlike the Bible, there is no sin. There's just imbalance. When Ninhursag sees what Enki has done, she does not scream, she does not curse the land, she simply withdraws. The Sumerians believed when the earth withdraws her spirit, life collapses. And so the waters dry, fertility weakens, and Enki falls terribly ill. His body begins to fail, one organ at a time. Because he consumed the powers of life, those same powers now consume him. And because Ninhursag is the only one who knows the medicines of creation, without her, Enki will die. And if Enki dies, all fresh water will cease and the world will wither away. Paradise is endangered. So the gods gather and say, "Mother of all, if Enki dies, the world will die." Ninhursag hears their grief and her anger dissolves. She returns to Enki not as a lover but as a healer. She kneels beside him, places his head in her lap, and whispers, "I will not let the world be undone." She draws out the sickness from each of his organs, and for each organ she removes, she creates a new healing deity. From his jaw, Ninti, lady of the rib and lady of life. From his heart, Ninsutu, healer of the flesh. From his throat, Ninkasi, lady of beer, fermentation, and transformation, and so on. 8 gods are born, each representing restoration, not punishment. So the Sumerian myth of the rib is not a woman being created for man. It is a goddess healing a god by creating more life. Paradise is not destroyed, but it is no longer effortless. After this moment, humans must grow crops, not simply gather them. Life includes cycles of growth and decay. Death becomes part of the world, not a punishment, but a balance. The gods are not perfect. They're in relationship with creation. Paradise becomes a memory, basically a first age. Dilmun remains, but now the living may only glimpse it in visions, rituals, and dreams. The dead return to it if they are in harmony with life. It becomes the homeland of the soul, not the world we walk upon daily. Very interesting. I love the Sumerian version also. Now let's move on to the Egyptian paradise myth. Ooh. Mouth getting a little dry. I should have brought some water. In the ancient Egyptian tradition, the closest concept to paradise is called Aru, or the field of reeds. It is the eternal homeland of the blessed dead, a perfected version of earth restored to balance, beauty, and abundance. It is Egypt perfected, basically. The Nile Valley as it was meant to be, without hunger, war, illness, death, corruption, or injustice. This paradise was earned not by faith, but by living within Ma'at, which is the cosmic principle of truth, balance, harmony, and righteousness. Ancient texts describe Aru as a place with golden sunlight that never burns, endless green reed fields, clear running water and branching canals, fruit orchards in perpetual season, barley stalks as tall as the gods themselves, soft breeze and perfect air, no aging, no suffering, and no shadow of grief. People live in villages near the water, lush fields with beautiful open skies. The soul fishes, plants grain, makes music, feasts, and walks among the gods. Importantly, you are not alone there. You join your family line, your ancestors, and your Ka, which is like your soul double in Egyptian civilization. Ancient Egyptian civilization. The realm belongs to Osiris. He is the Lord of renewal, rebirth, the Nile, cycles of nature, and the just dead. Osiris does not judge alone when the soul comes to him. Judgment is held by 42 divine assessors in the hall of Ma'at. Your heart is placed to enter the field of reeds I will describe right here. Your heart is placed on a scale against the feather of Ma'at. If your heart is light, it means you live within harmony, truth, and justice. So you pass. If your heart is heavy, which means that your heart is full of selfishness, cruelty, and imbalance, your heart is devoured by Amit, and your soul just ceases to exist. You just no more. There is no eternal punishment, just existence or non-existence. Life in the field of reeds is joyful, free, and peaceful. You may walk beside loved ones, speak with the gods as companions, dance and sing in festivals, tend to gardens that flourish effortlessly, sail the Nile with no fear, and feast with Osiris in eternal celebration. The paradise is active, embodied, communal. It is not an escape from life. It is life just perfected. Egyptians believed earth is sacred, but temporary. Paradise in this world restored to divine balance. If you live in Ma'at, you did not change upon death. You simply returned home. Aru is not imagined as a cloud realm or a distant kind of heaven. It is a real landscape, a perfected reflection of the Nile Valley, because to ancient Egyptians, heaven was not a different world. It was this world in its ideal, eternal form. The world is paradise if it is within Ma'at. When Ma'at is broken, paradise fades, and when Ma'at is restored, paradise returns. I love that one too. That's a great philosophical concept. Love that one. We have the golden age of Kronos in Greek civilization. Before Zeus ruled Olympus, the world was ruled by Cronus, the titan of time in its gentle form and circular form, fertility, cosmic harmony, natural abundance. This is before time becomes linear, before aging, growth, all of that leads to your demise, decay, or things that decay. The world was young, green, soft, and timeless. This age is described by Hesiod, Ovid, Pindar, and the Orphic hymns, all telling the same truth. The Golden Age was a time when humans lived like gods. During the rule of Cronus, no one worked because the earth provided food freely. Fruit fell from the trees on its own. Rivers were sweet with honey and milk. Grain sprouted without farming. The climate was always warm. No one aged beyond their prime. No war, no politics, no ownership, no poverty, no greed, no crime, and no death. Only gentle transformation, like falling asleep. Humanity lived in peace, ease, and innocent joy. The ancient texts say no one had to labor, for the earth gave all. There was no law, for no one did wrong. They lived like gods with calm hearts. This was paradise through innocence in this age. Humans and gods walked together. There was no hierarchy, no temples because the divine was everywhere, no offerings because nothing was lacking, no fear of death because death did not exist. Paradise did not end because humans fell. It ended because Zeus overthrew Cronus. This is extremely important. The loss of paradise in Greek myth is not the fall of man. It is a change in cosmic leadership. Cronus represented time without change, life without loss, innocence without awareness. Zeus represents growth, choice, change, awareness, mortality, civilization, and struggle that leads to wisdom. So when Zeus takes the throne, time begins to move forward. This is the beginning of work, memory, aging, desire, achievement, death, and story. Paradise ends, but meaning basically begins. Paradise did not end because humans failed. So that was, very important. But unlike some religions that long for a return to the first paradise, the Greeks believed that the Golden Age was beautiful, but it was incomplete. In the Golden Age, people didn't create. The world already provided. People didn't grow because life was effortless. People didn't choose because innocence is not wisdom. The goal was not to return to innocence. The goal was to earn wisdom. We began in paradise without awareness. We enter life to gain awareness through struggle. We return to paradise, but now with wisdom. The golden age of Kronos was the first paradise when humanity lived in effortless harmony with nature and the gods, before time, death, and struggle entered the world. A paradise not lost through sin, but surrendered in order for consciousness and purpose to be born. Wow. That was freaking amazing. You gotta admit. Now, let's move on to one that is more popular to our society. You might know it. You might not know this version, but you might essentially know it. The Hebrew paradise myth. Gan Eden, or Garden of Eden. Eden does not mean paradise originally. It means delight, ease, harmony. So Gan Eden means the garden of delight, the garden of natural harmony. This was not simply a location, it was a state of perfect unity. In Eden, there was no concept of time as aging or decay. There was no fear because there was nothing to fear. There was no death because life was self-renewing. There was no mine because nothing was owned. The earth provided without labor. Existence was effortless. Food grew freely. You get figs, dates, olives, pomegranates, wheat, anything you need. No one hunted, stored, or planned. There was no future, only ever-blooming present. The text says Adam and Eve were naked and unashamed. It could literally mean naked, or it means no ego, no self-conscience, no division between the observer and the observed, no sense of I from the world. They were one with existence. Like, you can think of it as like a newborn baby, a newborn infant, or animals in their natural freedom, mystics in deep meditation, or lovers who just lost the sense of separateness. They did not think of their existence. They lived it directly. This is the essence of paradise. There were two central trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge. Both, you could think of the tree of life like unity. You could think of the tree of knowledge like separation almost. And I'll tell you why. Both these trees are said to be in the middle. The tree of life was not forbidden initially. The man could eat from it before exile. The ban is only imposed after the transgression. Eating from this tree sustains life indefinitely. Continued access to this tree equals eternal physical life. After the transgression, God blocks access from this tree to prevent immortality. The tree of knowledge of good and evil was specifically prohibited by direct command. Eating from this tree results in death, as told in Genesis 2:17, which I will say. But from the tree of knowledge of good and evil you shall not eat, for in the day you eat from it you shall surely die. Genesis 2:17. Before eating, experience was direct. There was no concept of right and wrong, good and bad, beautiful and ugly. After eating, the mind started to categorize. The self became separate from the world. This is the birth of ego, judgment, self-consciousness, time awareness, and the question of meaning. This is the birth of the human condition. The text says that Eden was closed, not destroyed. The flaming sword guards the way to the tree of life. This means once consciousness awakens, innocence cannot be regained by going backward. We cannot return to awareness. We cannot return to unawareness. To return to Eden, we must transform, integrate, and fully awaken. This is the essence of the Hebrew mystical tradition called Kabbalah. Eden still exists, but now we return through wisdom, not innocence. The Garden of Eden is the first pain in the beginning. When the Lord God made the heavens and the earth, there were no fields, no crops, no rain yet. The Lord God shaped man from the dust of the ground and breathed it into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living being. Then God planted a garden in a region called Eden in the far east, and he placed the man there. The man was placed there to basically tend to the garden, but the Lord caused every tree to grow that was pleasant to the sight and good for food. In its center were the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. A river flowed out of Eden to water the garden, then divided into 4 rivers, which we know now as the Pishon, Gihon, I know these 2, Tigris and Euphrates. The Lord God placed the man in the garden to work it and to guard it. And the Lord commanded him, "You may eat of every tree in the garden, but not the tree of knowledge of good and evil, for on the day you eat of it, you shall surely die." Then the Lord God said that it was not good for the man to be alone. He formed all the animals and brought them to the man to see what he would name them. But none among them was a suitable companion. So the Lord caused the man to fall into a deep sleep and took one of his ribs, or sides as described, and made it into a woman and brought her to him. The man said, "This is one of my bone and flesh of my flesh." The man and the woman were both naked. They were not ashamed. Soon, a serpent, more subtle than the other animals the Lord had made, asked the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree?" The woman replied, "We may eat from the trees, but not the tree in the middle of the garden. We must not eat it or touch it, lest we die." The serpent said, "Oh, you will surely not die. God knows when you eat it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." The woman ate the fruit and gave it to the man. He also ate. Then their eyes were opened. They knew that they were naked. They sewed fig leaves together to make coverings. They heard the sound of the Lord God walking in the garden and hid among the trees. The Lord called, "Where are you?" The man said he hid because he was naked. The Lord asked, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat?" The man said, "The woman you gave me. She gave me the fruit." The woman said, "The serpent deceived me." The Lord God said to the serpent, "You are cursed among animals. You will crawl on your belly. There will be an enmity between you and the woman. Her offspring will strike your head, and you will strike his heel." To the woman he said, "Greatly increase pain in childbearing. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you." To the man he said, "Because you ate of the tree, the ground is cursed. You will eat by toil and sweat. Thorns and thistles will grow. You will return to the dust. From the dust you were taken." The Lord God made them garments of animal skin and clothed them. Then he said, "The humans have become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now he must reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and live forever." So the Lord God sent them out of the garden to work the ground. He placed the cherubim, which are winged guardians, the angels, and a flaming turning sword to guard the way to the tree of life, so that humans, or man or woman, would never be able to touch it again, so they would not be able to become, like God said, one of us. Paradise is a state of pure unity before self-awareness to the Hebrew myth. Lost not through sin. It doesn't seem like it was lost through sin. Yes, they disobeyed, but was a sin really committed? but through the awakening of consciousness and destined to be regained not through innocence, but through understanding. That was great. I love the Hebrew myth. That's one that we most likely know. You know what I'm saying? You can say sin if you want to. I mean, yes, they did disobey God, in a sense, which I guess is kind of a sin, to not, to eat the fruit when you were told not to eat it. Yeah, I guess, that's something, but it wasn't a sin. That's how we would think of today. It wasn't involving murder, or then sin can be thought of as just gaining knowledge in that sense, on that myth right there. So very, very interesting myth. It's a lot to think about when it comes down to that one, because that is the one that we predominantly deal with today in society as to how we structure our belief system from the beginning. Now, there are more descriptions and mythologies of what paradise could have been, but I wanted to focus on the closest depictions of paradise that would be welcome to all. Now, through all of these mythologies, we can see that paradise is referred to as an aspect of a human quality without any suffering. The golden ages of human civilization seem to be the first segment of the start of humanity and all living things. The ideologies tell us that at one point humanity was not succumbed to the lifestyle that we are forced to live today. Paradise was not simply a place that you go when you die. And looking through all of these mythologies, it seems that paradise was lost, not forgotten. As if we forgot who we actually were and how we should treat this realm that we live in. We seem to leave and forget paradise when our relationship with the land becomes an afterthought. When we stop listening to our spirit and natural rhythms of life, we start to seek domination. Being expelled from paradise seems to not be punishment, but a decision that we humans made for ourselves to disconnect. We often may think of paradise as an escape from this life that we live now, but I think that we kind of have it a little bit wrong right now. Paradise is described through text as the aspects of our world in a cohesive relationship with itself. Every tradition says we began in a state of harmony, we fell out of harmony, now we must find our way back. But the return is not to a location, it is a way of being. Remembering how to listen to the earth, honoring our ancestors, recognizing spirit in all things, living gently instead of so aggressively, creating instead of consuming without end. Paradise cannot be an afterthought if we wish to live in it, or to return to it. To return to paradise is basically to return to our responsibility, to our reciprocity, to return to balance, return to the rhythm of nature, return to remembering who we are. See, paradise existed on earth before imbalance entered the world. You can make your world a paradise, but you alone cannot make the world a paradise. It's like that phrase we all know, it takes a village. One alone cannot change anything but themselves naturally. Maybe we need to stop this notion that once we die, we will all be able to escape responsibility and accountability. We should not probably be seeking the afterlife so fast for an escape, because that's not the way. Finding comfort in the unknown is not the way, but there is nothing wrong with believing everything will soon get better in this life that we live. We must learn more, not only through our innovative physical ways, but also through the spiritual embodiments that we also carry. But both of these characteristics that we carry need to advance further. Immortality would not be probably thought of as suffering if we all had it, right? Imagine a life where you didn't have to lose loved ones, where you don't have to worry about pain, where you don't have to worry about the next meal. This is all achievable, I believe, but that will never subside the fact that responsibility and accountability must be in place to achieve this type of lifestyle. We have to stop running from what we know needs to be done for one another and all living things. It's never going to be easier for you if it's not easier for your neighbor, if it's not easier for the earth. Imbalance tortures this world that we live in today. The only odd thing is that it might not truly be hard to achieve balance with the knowledge that we do possess right now. The only hard thing is getting people to come together and work together and love one another no matter what. People are born with the capacity for good and bad, but naturally you are born good and bad is a learned behavior. Studies have shown that infants show a natural, unprompted tendency to engage in helpful or pro-social behaviors, such as giving a toy or food to someone in need, even at personal cost. This suggests a basic inborn inclination towards kindness and concern for others. Even before they can speak or have received significant formal instruction on the right and wrong social conditions, basically, babies can distinguish between helpful and harmful actions in others. They tend to prefer individuals whom they observe acting in a pro-social manner. Think of it as like a helper, and they show aversion or negative reactions to those who act in antisocial or obstructive ways, which we could think of as the opposite of a helper, a hinderer. I believe that there are bad people, but there doesn't always have to be bad people, because that can be changed through the learning of the next that comes after us. If we adapt to a lifestyle of widespread love and care, we would create a more supportive environment, which is a crucial foundation for well-being. However, true balance and resolution of mental health issues and global challenges require a multifaceted approach involving scientific understanding, effective policies, medical treatments, and systematic change, in addition to improved human relationships. But before this can even be reached, we must find that connection and try to remember paradise in order to advance our civilization to the foretold golden age and make sure that we do not fall again, because the stories tell us in the past this lifestyle was our lifestyle. Immortality, abundance, sacred law, purpose, peace, connection, and freedom of suffering was our paradise. So maybe this time we don't have paradise with innocence, but we have paradise with wisdom. Catch y'all on the flip side.